Hello, this is Mr. Hornsby 83 with another Mr. Hornsby 83. This time a spoiler review of Batman v Superman. I talk about stuff I couldn't talk about last night, like the opening credits and, a bunch of other things, like the, shocker that happened, which I shouldn't have been so shocked, because with that character, that storyline always happens, seems like. Alright, so we'll get right into the review, and I'm going to talk about the first thing, which was they did another Batman origin story. It starts out, you're seeing the origins of Batman and his, family going out. And for once, first time ever in a Batman movie, Batman finally has a father that has a beard and mustache, because in the comics, in the cartoons, even in some of the games, his dad had a beard and mustache, and his dad kind of looked a little stocky. Like, if you watch the cartoons and you see the comics, his father looked a little stocky. And I'm talking about muscle-wise, not fat. Like, then we get to him running away from the funeral site, and he falls into the little cave thing, and the bats show up, and they make a tornado, and he's coming up, doing this. I didn't like that part. Then we start getting Batman v Superman thing. Then we get the people's names in the credits. We get Ben Affleck's. We get Henry Cavill's, Eisenberg. And then after that, it shows Bruce Wayne running across Metropolis trying to get to, I guess he had a Wayne Industries in Metropolis that during the time Superman was fighting Zod. And he sees the destruction that was caused by Superman and Zod's fight. The little thing happened, the little, whatever those things are called, I forget. The things that were shooting energy that Superman tried to stop. Then he saves a little girl because she's trapped, and then the Wayne Enterprise building gets destroyed. His friend Jack was in there, and there's a guy down that was under a big old rail, and then Batman's getting it up, well, Bruce Wayne, and then he has some people help, and the guy, which ends up becoming a key part of, I'll say, the middle of the movie. Then after that, he asks the little girl where her mom is. The little girl points to the building that just went down, and he gives the little girl a hug. He looks up and sees Superman driving Zod through the building, and he's like, I'm gonna kill him, And then we get into, I think it was, months later, Batman's taking on a criminal, and the cops are coming after the criminal, and they might have been coming after Batman too, because this sexual predator had a bunch of girls trapped in a cage, and Batman went and took down that guy, but he brutalized the guy. Apparently they didn't show it, but he brutalized, and the girls were scared, I guess, of Batman. They want to stay safely in their cages, and brutalized the sex offender, and the cops see him, and Batman leaves or whatnot, and then you see Batman branded his Bat logo into a villain, which I guess you could say this was a Frank Miller thing, because once I get further into the movie, you'll see what I'm talking about with the Frank Miller thing. So then Batman goes home, he's talking to Alfred, then they cut away from Batman after the talk with Alfred, which was played by Jeremy Irons. After Alfred talks to Batman, then we get some story about Superman, and my biggest problem with this movie, which I'll talk about it toward the end, so Superman's Lois Lane's doing a report, and I guess the Middle East, I don't know where we're at. And then she's talking to this big minister or something, and I guess the people think he's a god or something. And apparently there was an FBI or CIA agent with her, and she didn't know he was. And the guy tried to take down that guy, dictator or whatever it was. But they catch him, they kill him, and he takes Lois hostage in his little house or whatever. And Lois is like, I had no idea that he was with the feds and this and that. And he's like, well, ignorance does not result in innocence. So I guess the guy was planning on killing Lois. And then the guys that just looked like they were working for this guy, they just turn around, shoot some of his men, and leave. And Superman shows up right around the same time to save Lois. And he saves Lois. He gets blamed for these people being killed, and then he gets blamed for this minister, and then they're talking to the Congress and or the Secretary of State or whatever, and everybody's like, well, he just swooped down like he was a god and this and that. And you know, in this movie, Superman gets referred to as God like several billion times. Half of them are by freaking Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, which I'll get to in a few. So then they go, I guess they get back to Batman, I think it is. He's like, no, it wasn't Batman yet. They get to Superman, back at the Daily Planet. Lois is back at the planet, they're talking, and then she goes home or whatever, and like all over the news, like people were anxious about Superman. They thought he was gonna be like, he's just this alien that shouldn't be here, and he done killed Zod, and he destroyed a lot of people and accidentally killed people in his fight with Zod. Which I guess you could, like I said, you could pan that up for a Man of Steel rookie. But and then we get back to Batman. Oh, there's also a scene where Lois and Superman are talking, well, as Clark Kent, and then she's like in the tub nude, and she talking about, you were sloppy. He's like, no, I didn't kill anybody. I don't know why they're blaming me. And you know, Lois, she kind of believed him, but she felt like, you know, he was going to get blamed no matter what. He jumps in the tub with her. You get, I guess you could call it a mini sex scene, which there's supposed to be a rated R version of this. Extended rated R version is coming out later on, like probably after the movie comes out on DVD and that. So they'll probably give that scene probably a little more time. I don't know. I doubt it. But, so then after that, we get back to Batman. He's getting ready to go to Lex Luthor's place to, well, actually, no, wait, we got the introduction of Lex Luthor, which he's talking to the Secretary of State about Superman. And she's talking about, I'm not going to question Superman for anything and this and that. And he's sitting there saying stuff to her, and there's one point where he's talking about the red cape still coming. The red. And you know, at first when I saw the preview, because the preview pretty much gave the whole movie away, but when I saw the preview, I'm like, oh my god, why are they having to make that stupid line? The only one that had a red cape out of Heroes was freaking Superman. I wanted the line taken out of the movie, but it was still in there. But he was, I guess you could say he was talking about the government, or back in the day when the war happened, and strange obsession with God and freaking devil in this movie for Lex Luthor. So after he talks to her, they have a lot of interaction. Then we get to Batman, who's planning on going to Lex Luthor's place because someone found kryptonite that was working for Lex Luthor, and I don't even know how Lex Luthor knew about the kryptonite, but found it, and I guess let Luthor know. And Batman found out about it, and he was going to use it to try to take on Superman. How Batman knew about it is beyond me either, because they didn't explain. That's why I said there was a lot of flaws. They kind of suffer from X-Men Days of Future Past syndrome in this movie, not explaining nothing. Although, you know, X-Men Future Past got better reviews in this movie. But, so Batman's trying to get the kryptonite. He's talking about he's going to have to break in as Batman. And then Alfred's like, hey, guess what? Bruce Wayne got invited to Lex Luthor's party. So he's like, okay, I'll go to it. And then when he first comes in, Superman has no idea who he is. Um, so, while Superman's, he's like, who's that? They're like, you must be new, kid. That's Bruce Wayne. So Bruce Wayne's there. He's like investigating around. And then he goes down to try to steal something out of the computer of Lex Luthor, or I guess how to find kryptonite or find out what White Pegasus is. Because pretty much Batman was after the same people Superman was, but you really didn't see Superman pursuing these people the way you seen Batman. But I'll get into that later too. But and then after that, Bruce Wayne comes up and he walks past Clark Kent. He's like, Mr. Wayne, can I get your opinion on the Bat Vigilante? And because Superman's been reading that Batman's been going too far with his brand of justice lately.
Literally, brand.
Yeah, and he's upset about that because he feels like Batman's doing things the wrong way. And I've heard a lot of people complain about that. Oh, why Superman wanting to go after Batman? Blah 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 blah. Well, they pretty much implemented it. I don't know if people paid attention to the movie or they did see that part and they just overlooked it. But so Batman goes on a tirade about, oh, it's hypocritical of Daily Planet to be sitting there judging people when, every time your hero saves a cat, they write a nice touch piece on him. This and that. And you talk about, maybe it's just a Gotham City and me, I've had a problem, or we've had problems with freaks dressed like clowns or something like that. I forgot the actual line, but it's like one of the best lines in the movie. Then we get the Lex Luthor plotting to get General Zod's body because the government still had it for some reason. So we find out why he wants Zod's body for a lot of reasons. One, he takes his little fingerprint, takes his little thumb fingerprints or whatever and puts them on his to get into the ship that I'm guessing Zod came in, or if it was a Superman ship, I don't know. But and my biggest problem with the movie was they didn't explain how Lex Luthor knew everything. He knew, and I had a theory that Lex Luthor knew who Superman was, and that he knew who Batman was. It still wasn't clear that he knew who Batman was, but he did make it clear that he knew who Superman was. He called him Kal-El, then he called him Clark Kent, and then he had his henchmen go after Martha Kent, which is Clark's mom. And so he did all this planning, but didn't give a reason why, didn't give an explanation why he knew all this and how he knew all this, especially at the end when he's talking about the bells ringing. He's hungry. So I'll get into that at the end of the movie. But, so then they start building up, Batman's building up all this hatred for Superman, and all Superman is upset with how Batman's handling crime. But Batman wants Superman for what happened 2 years ago, because they're basing this one after, 2 years after the first one. And Batman, then there's a point where Batman starts having dreams about the parademons, because he had a dream that I guess he contacted somebody about getting the kryptonite box so that he could get the kryptonite to try to take down Superman. And afterwards, the parademons show up, they start attacking, and the guys turn on him. And it was pretty, look, I like the Affleck as Batman, but this was the corniest part of it all when he's no. That was the corniest part of Affleck as Batman. Other than that, he did great. Then you see him shooting people, and again, people have been complaining about not getting Frank Miller version of Batman, which they pretty much got it in this movie. And some people knew this Frank Miller thing. So we got the Frank Miller Batman, and I'll explain why we got him in this movie. But then we get to a point where apparently the Flash is trying to warn him, oh, you were right about him. Lois Lane is the key, and I think I know what that is. I'll give the theory on that at the end of this review. But Lois Lane was the key. I had thought it was something else, but it wasn't. Then finally we get to the fight with Batman and Superman. It was a good fight, didn't last long. Also, Wonder Woman and people, my wife was upset because I said she did okay. Look, I'm not saying she didn't do good in the fight scenes and all that, and some of her lines, like with the flirtation with Bruce was alright. But some of her lines she delivered were kind of stiff, and so yeah, I'm not saying she was terrible, and I never said she was terrible, I just said okay. I really want to see the Wonder Woman movie, because maybe she'll get a lot more to do, and have, better lines than that, and, but the thing was, she wasn't as big a part of the movie as a lot of people probably thought it was going to be going into it. Yeah, she was she was in quite a good number of scenes, but she also wasn't in a lot of scenes. So that's kind of good. They still focused it on Batman and Superman. Well, not really focused it on Batman and Superman. They focused it on Batman, which I'll get to my flaw in that later on too. But so we get to fight. It ends because Batman, like in the comics, Batman won the first time they fought. So Batman was getting ready to just finish him off, because this is Frank Miller Batman. He was getting ready to finish off Superman, and Superman was talking about he needs to save Martha Kent because Lex Luthor had her kidnapped, which I mentioned earlier in the video. Had her kidnapped and told Superman he had to fight Batman and take Batman's head off to save Martha. And I think the whole plan was, he probably figured he knew Batman was going to stop at nothing to end Superman's life, so he was probably setting Superman up to be killed by Batman. But then when, Superman talking about Martha, say Martha, my mom, and then Batman kind of gave up trying to kill him, and he's like, he's talking to him, and then they become pals, buddy. And then we get to Doomsday stuff, which Lex Luthor pretty much was doing stuff behind. Well, Batman was focusing on Superman, and, Superman was being, pretty much God-like. Lex Luthor had time to make room to plan and plot everything he did, which he created Doomsday from General Zod's body, because he figured out how to... Somehow he also figured out how to use Kryptonian technology, which... I know all the hints in the movie were Darkseid coming, because if you see every single hint in that movie was a hint of Darkseid coming, and it might have been another hint toward the end, which I'll talk about when I get to that, which I'm almost there. So they team up, take on Doomsday. After that, Superman uses a kryptonite arrow, which Lois Lane threw in the water, and then she went to get it back out because, kryptonite's a weakness for Kryptonians, and since Doomsday was made from General Zod, he's a Kryptonian. So Lois Lane takes the thing out. She almost drowns. Well, she didn't take it out. She tried to find it, but she almost drowns. Superman saves her. He goes and gets it, nearly dies. Lois saves him. Throws the thing over there to keep him from getting hurt. And then Superman's like, you're my whole world. I love you. I love this planet. This is my planet. This is my city. I'm going to save the day, which I'm glad they did this, because Superman did not get no respect in this movie. And this was supposed to be a Superman sequel, not a Batman sequel, not a Batman movie. Batman's going to get his own standalone movie. And I'll talk about other things. And so Superman takes the kryptonite stick after, Batman and Wonder Woman were having trouble. Takes the kryptonite thing, puts it in Doomsday, but Doomsday stabs Superman, and Superman dies when Doomsday dies. And we get the memorial service from Metropolis for Superman, and then we get the Clark Kent memorial service back in Smallville. Because I'm sure a lot of the people in Smallville knew that Clark Kent was Superman. And people in Metropolis didn't know, except for Lois Lane. Then Martha shows the ring that Superman was going to give Lois, And I feel like Superman kind of connected more with the humans in this, although it still seemed like he was kind of distant from a lot of humans. But I think he connected better with the humans. Also, another thing they did, they also threw hints at Darkseid coming, but they also planted the seeds for the Justice League. We seen the Flash clip that Batman sent the email to Wonder Woman. Showed the picture of her back in like, I think it was 1819 or something like that. And that's like, I think that was right before she gave up on humanity because she felt like they were just wasting their lives. Then we had, I think the next one was Aquaman, which all they really had him do was come out and kind of attack some Earthlings. And you know, I guess Aquaman said, screw this, I don't want these people seeing me. I don't like humans. But Aquaman has always kind of disliked humans anyway, in a way. I mean, he'll defend and save them, but he dislikes them. Then we got the Flash clip. Then we got Cyborg, which also had a boom tube in it. Had the guy from Terminator 2, the guy that was the creator of the freaking, what was it, Skynet. He was partially the reason why Skynet got built. Then we got to, as the funeral, you know, Batman, he's sitting there talking to Wonder Woman, saying, those heroes we need to get in contact with, because I think a fight's coming. But before that, let me get to the jail scene. Lex Luthor gets caught for the death of Superman and creating Doomsday. He's in jail, they shave him bald, which was a good thing because Luthor's always been bald. They shave him bald, and he's in jail. And as they're still doing a memorial thing, they show a scene where they're like, and this is where I thought we were going to possibly see Darkseid right here, but that wasn't the case. It was actually Batman. So they say put your hands on your head and this and that, turn your face to the wall, and they open the jail cell, Batman coming in there yelling and screaming at him, blah, 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 like, you know, Christian Bale's Batman voice, like, ah! Then he hits the freaking wall, because I guess, I don't know if he's going to kill anymore in the Justice League movie, or if he's in Superman, or in the standalone Batman, or whatnot, but hits the wall with the brand that he was branding crooks with, and Luthor saying, well, the bell has been rung, ding, 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 ding. He's hungry, he has found us, he's coming, we all know who he was talking about. Well, comic book fans know who he was talking about. People that haven't seen, you know, haven't read comic books or even seen Superman cartoons or anything like that, don't know who the heck they were talking about, which was a big problem with the movie too. But he referred to Darkseid as the devil. He's like, the devil's coming, he's gonna wipe out everybody. And I'm looking for it. I think what they should do though, before they do a Justice League movie, you gotta get us another Superman movie out there. And the reason why I say that, I'm getting to right now, is because you get to the part after Batman's done did that, after Luthor's ranting on about Darkseid coming, which Batman's kind of sensed anyway because of his dreams and the vision he got of the Flash, which I'll get to that theory after this. But Lois Lane sitting there throwing the dirt down on the thing, and then she walks away. And then the dirt starts raining, and then the movie goes off. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's because Superman comes back alive. I think it's Darkseid coming to take Superman's body, because now I'm going to get into the theory part. There was no end credit scene, which really ticked me off because me and my family waited for it. So I think what the plot is, whether it's a Man of Steel 2 or whether it's the Justice League movie, what the plan is Darkseid's going to somehow get Superman's dead body, revive him on planet Apocalypse, put a mind control device on him, and make him think that he's his son, and he'll have Superman doing evil for him. He'll be controlling Superman, and I think the way they'll stop Superman and get him to realize that he has no affiliation with Darkseid is the fact that Lois Lane will come and be like, "What are you doing? You're supposed to be the man I loved, Clark Kent, Superman. You're supposed to be the man I loved. You're not his son. You're an Earthling." And I think that's what's going to happen. Either Man of Steel 2 it's going to happen, or Justice League it's going to happen. And a lot of people I know were complaining about the lack of explanation, but in some ways they did explain things, but some ways they didn't. And I'm sure half the people that saw Batman v Superman were possibly comic book fans anyway. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people knew who Darkseid is. But for those people that didn't read comic books, Darkseid is a god from Planet Apocalypse. He's very powerful. He's like a hard villain to beat. He was a big nuisance to Superman. He was a big nuisance to the Justice League.